Good evening. This is the Elliott wave update for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 for Wednesday, February the 21st, 2024. Well, it was, the word that comes to my mind, folks, is that it was a bizarre day. Initially, the markets opened lower. They continued to move lower. They were sold hard, reaching lows, and then started to pick up and rally within the last half hour, 45 minutes, in anticipation of NVIDIA's earnings. And then NVIDIA's earnings did come out. The market, the stock jumped higher, reversed, went down, put in a new low on for the futures market, put in a new low, and then turned and raced back above to new highs in the stock and new daily highs for both the S&P and the NASDAQ. Now, how does that all fit in? Well, to tell you the truth, it is absolutely fits very, very cleanly. I'm going to start here in the S&P. I'm starting on my hourly chart. And so again, we remain within the minor fifth wave, and also within that, within the minute fifth wave. And the minor fifth wave is forming, in my opinion, a diagonal triangle. So it should continue to wedge itself higher. Let me just kind of pull this out and we'll take a look at it from here. So we got the ABC1, ABC2, ABC3, AB, and actually the ABC for 4 came within this. I know it's very tiny and it's very strange looking. And right now I'm on the line chart, which is on a closing basis, because I really needed to take out all of the tails that were created along the way so that we can see clearly, more clearly, on how it really did complete. So I will switch back out so that we can line up our fibs correctly, because when I'm doing the Fibonacci calculations, I do include those tails, because that's actually where the market did trade. And so I'm basing my calculations on the candlesticks chart versus the line chart. And so I'm going to move it back, but I wanted to just show that we remain within a diagonal triangle, kind of heading higher, and that we, as far as this pattern goes, wave 4 remains in place where I'd had it before. And even if I was going to consider this a wave A and this is an A and a B, or excuse me, if this is wave A, this is wave B, and then we get a C wave down. First of all, it wouldn't fit because this worked out to be 5 waves up, and this worked into be an ABC down. Actually, it did work into be, 3 waves down. And finishing that 5th wave pretty much and a little bit of a flat right there. So now I'm going to go back over to the candle chart so we can see what that did? I'm going to go back down to the hourly chart. And so we're still remaining. This was wave 4. It did not come down and challenge it. It did come down to point, I think it just passed it by a little bit, the 0.618 for the retracement. So in other words, I know I'm labeling this AB because we're in the triangle pattern. So if I'm going to count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wave 1 or A, because it's going to be an ABC, it's going to be a 5, 3, 5 going up. So it's just easier to put it as it's going to get labeled A, B, and then we're in the C wave. But you could also say 1, 2, and we get a 3, 4, 5, but it's going to show as an ABC going up. So here we are. And within that, what I'm counting is the final wave up is now in progress. It's going to have all the characteristics of a 3rd wave. So it certainly did jump to an excellent start. And I'm going to open that up so you can see. So market was approximately, excuse me. Sorry, the market was approximately about right here, just prior to the earnings report. It raced up, it raced down, and then it raced back up, came back down, and then just went off to the races. So all based on NVIDIA and how the stock traded. Stock's going going, it got up and got within 1 penny of the stock's all-time high at 746. So out of this particular run, it got up to 745.99. And then of course, they started to bring it back down again. So I am anticipating that it's going to now, it should still actually be interesting. I have to tell you, it still will remain interesting, because if that was it and we got everybody back in and now they're just going to start selling that stock, well, it could just present us with a very difficult picture. But again, if it did, I'm just going to bring this back out again. It presents it a little bit more difficult because either I'm going to have 3, 4, and this is the 5, and the 5 ended in a small failure, right? This being 50, 58, and this being 66. So makes it tough, but I really can put this in as 5, even with all those tails, as nasty as they are. And then if that is it, then this would be the first start of the first leg down. Now, what doesn't go with that, as even if I take it and put it back on that line chart, I'd have to say that this would be wave 1, or for the downside move. And if this is going to be 1, 2, and this is a 3, and we're in the 4, it hasn't done it quite yet, even on the closing basis. But when I take it over and I put it on the candle basis, there would be sort of the bottom of wave 1. Maybe we could even say it's here, and they just overlap. But even if I'm using this one, it overlaps. So that's why I'm keeping it in the context that 4, and we're going to do a 5, and that we will end up higher. Now, if that doesn't come through, well, then I'm going to have to do it again on the line chart to kind of bring it into focus. Now, if this is not going to continue to go up and they really start to bring the stock all the way back down, and they would have to bring it all the way back down below 674, right, to kill the whole thing. They're going to have to bring it way back down and drive this to bring itself back down, and then, of course, to break below there. And then to break this level, then we've got a whole different picture, and then we're dealing with the possibilities that it is finished. Now, I'm not counting on that. I'm just including it as a possibility because the market has been not real easy to interpret right now. But I'm feeling that, okay, maybe we're back on, and NVIDIA's earnings will hold. The stock will continue to rally, maybe get itself up to 800, because what it's also doing at the same time, it pulled Microsoft up, it pulled AMD up, it pulled Apple up, it pulled AMAT up, it pulled Amazon, its own little story because it's now going to be part of the Dow, but it pulled, Google was up all day, but it pulled Meta up, it pulled Microsoft up, put it back above 400. I mean, even Netflix woke up and decided to kind of join the party. Tesla decided to just do it all anyway, and now it is back up. And then they got, some news on Tesla. But here's the other one. The Supermicro Computer Inc. was down 53. Now, as of this, it's up 60. And if this trades at 793, it's basically up 60. So interesting turn. Anything associated now with chips or AI. Just shoves it right back into bullish mode. And so, yeah, maybe it'll run. It'll run and we'll finish this whole thing. And then get back to the reality of like, okay, what's going on around the world and what's going on with the economic numbers, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, I'm leaving this 3, 4. I'm looking for an ABC up. There was one that's 2 or a B. And then we're going to put in a C wave, and it will end up being 5 waves, of which, if I have to bring this down, let's take a look on the 15-minute chart. We kind of got 1, 2, 3. Maybe we get a little 4, or this is 3. That's 4, and we're going to work through the 5, and we're going to end up here. Now, let's see if I can start throwing on some decent fibs, and let's bring it back out here. Now, part of what we can do, we're going to just compare this wave to this wave and see what we get. It's a little bit different types of calculations, and so we're going to go with what we can put together to kind of start to fill in our blanks. So, well, that puts us up to a new high, 100%. 1.618 pulls us up into that zone, right? There you have it. Remember, we developed this zone based on the minor wave 5 coming in at 1.618. We have the C wave coming in at 100% at 51.87. We have the minute wave 5 coming in at 100%, so equality, and that's at 51.67. And then we have the internal minute 5 showing up possibly as high as 51.57. Basically, just need to kind of do 3 and get up to a new high above that. And 5,081 would do it. And that would be equality in terms of these 2 waves in progress. Now, and actually, see, minute 5 would be 0.618. Not always the first, but but as I've talked about, that it becomes structure versus that level. And if our structure does appear like it's going to complete, which it can, being that these would be equal, and it would be an ABC, and it would fulfill the diagonal, well, then it's going to come in right about there. It's a weird diagonal, I assure you. I am well aware. But we are in a long-term finishing. This all started in October of 2022. So 1, 2, 3, 4 on a minor degree. We're in the 5th. And I just can start connecting these, and you're going to see how they really do kind of can show up right here. Right in here. So again, we're back that 5,081-ish, maybe as high as 5,016, and that is the primary B, the irregular nature of the primary B, which already is being fulfilled. So in my opinion, we are in the finishing stages, and this might just do the trick, right in there. If not, then we kind of maybe get right up and cruise into this, as these are all going to start to converge right into here. And with the S&P, that's what works. So I do think we're very, very close, as a matter of fact. I don't think we're going to have to roll out now further and further. It stayed in the higher mode, waiting for NVIDIA. I think we do have a couple of more coming out towards the balance of February, but we're kind of really kind of reaching towards the end, and the majors have all reported. So it's now, so what comes next? And so we're back to dealing with not an earnings season. Now we're back to dealing with the economy, the geopolitical situations, all those kind of things. And we do have some, let me just kind of take a peek to what we might have coming out tomorrow. Initial jobless claims, the S&P Flash, excuse me on my voice today. S&P Flash U.S. Services PMI, S&P Flash the Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index, existing home sales, and then a whole host of all the balance of all the Fed people out there talking it up. So again, to start our day, we within well 8:30 a.m. initial jobless claims. Then the market opens, and then we have 9:45 the two PMIs, the S&P Flash PMIs, and 10 a.m. existing home sales. Those all can move the market. So we shall see. We shall see what and how the market wants to interpret. Again, looking for it to get itself up here. Maybe it's going to be interpreted as positive, and therefore, but at the same time, it zips up and comes it back down. All kinds of things can happen. I just want us to be prepared. So outside of that level, 5,081, so we got 79 to 81, so it's pretty tight, a very tight little cluster right there. Then we have 5116. Then we're into the much larger cluster, which if we do break, that's just where I would expect the market to kind of start to head. And that's just going to be just building on whatever rally they can get it going on. And because again, we now then work towards Friday's expiration. It's amazing. Now we're going from one level to the next level to the next level of what the market is going to anticipate and try to wait for. So there you have it. Now again, above 5116, then we have 5157, 67, 72, and 87. So that zone, it's a $30 zone up here, but there's a lot that can be, it's all finishing. So if we make it past here, and then here, it all kind of, I think, can finish up into here. And that's where I'm going to leave it for the S&P. Over in the NASDAQ, crazy, crazy, crazy. Same deal. I'm going to bring it down and put it on the line chart because, boy, you'll see how perfect this was. Now, at one point today, we ended up below 17,400, but we stayed above this line in the sand at 17,220, basically. So the diagonal triangle stays in place here in the NASDAQ. And if I just open this, I gotta just take it out. Let me go to the 4-hour chart so I can show the whole thing. And go right from there. We're gonna go here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. True overlap of wave 1. Wave 3 is the shortest wave so far. So far. And wave 1 is the longest, but that is all part of the diagonal. So look at this. A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C. And this actually completed after the earnings. They jumped it up, they brought it back. Now, what this does, let me just show you. If I take this and I put it back on that candlestick chart and take it out of this and put it down on, let's say, even 15-minute and open it up, it's pretty messy. Pretty messy. So, but if I leave it on the hourly chart, it actually, they made that low and it kind of raced up and came back down, did not make a new low. All right, all's forgiven. And so, but this will move back over when I put it back in line. Let me get that back. Activate, get it back where it belongs, which is right there, and the 4 right there. So what I thought actually took place on the line chart was perfect. It did show it. And that's what I was looking for. I wanted to be able to count and get away from all of the noise, so to speak, with all of the wicks. So it does work out. So we got an A, got a B, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 complete C wave. Then we got the 4. So it's ABC4. And now look at that. Look at that roar up out of there. And as NVIDIA really started to move higher. that it just really just rocketed with it. Of course, because it pulled everything else up along with it. So again, I think because they're kind of bringing things back down now, and we've got about 30 minutes before Globex starts, they may just pull it back down a little bit. But, if I go here to my 15-minute chart, put it back on that, come on, back on the candle, open that up. It does look like I got a 1, a 2, a 3. That's kind of a weird one, but looks like we could have done a 3 coming up, like a 1 and a 2, and then a 3, or 1, 2, and a 3. Do a little pullback, and then we rally again. So again, see what this did? It just really makes it kind of very, very difficult. And that's the actual when the number was released. So came out, raced up, raced down, came back, and then continued. As it was amazing. All right. So what can we start to build to put something together here? First of all, I'm going to take this out. It actually remains in place, but I'm not thinking that it's actually going to be useful. So I'm going to go back out here. I got to go back out to my 4-hour chart. Again, open it up so I can get wave 1. That, because wave 1 was so big here, but that's how I can connect them, right? I'm looking for wave 5. And wave 1 is what we compare it to. So here again, let's take a peek. We have 1.236 actually coming up first at 18,002 to what was that? 18,250, 55, something in there. And then we have 618 for 5, right? And again, remember, 5's got to come up in 3. It's got to be a 3 wave. This is a diagonal, so 5's got to be an A, a B, and a C. So we got 18,050 to 18,075 to 18,370. That's where minor 5 would be 1.618 times the length of minor 1. We got a little bit of a cluster right here between 18,250 and 18,370. Then our next cluster, depending on how they want to get this all done, we have the 382, which is for the primary B. We have the 100, which is for the C wave, the intermediate C wave. So if we get past 18,832, which would be where minute wave 5 would be equal to minute wave 1. Again, I start to look right in here. And this is one of those cases where, because we're in a diagonal, that wave 5 would come into 0.618 of wave 1. Wave 1 is the longest wave. And if it only came up to here, it would still leave 5 as the shortest wave. Wave 3 gets a pass on this one. So if it extends and goes all the way up, then of course we're looking at it being that wave 3 would likely be the smallest wave. But right now, this is my first cluster to complete it, to complete the whole story. So maybe we just rally strong like everyone's anticipating, and then they're just like, okay, we're done, boom, and they start selling it, which has been the thought from a lot of people. So we will see. And then beyond that, we have 18,832, then 19,167. So in that hood, and then this is the next cluster. But this actually, yeah, it can fit a couple of accounts. It fits the alternate count as well, getting up into here closer to 20,000 actually. So keeping it still and irregular, it gets tough. Possible, of course, but I don't often, not particularly in the degree that we're in, see it surpass 1.382 with a great big push, because the next one up is 1.618, and I don't normally include it because it was never a part of Elliott's work, but it's out there. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of leave it here. So to just kind of recap what my thought process is today, is that in both, particularly in the NASDAQ, we completed that minute wave 4. In the S&P, the wave 4 was complete, and what it appears to be is we got waves A and likely B of minute wave 5 complete. So it's a little bit different. And so it's going to make that C wave in the S&P possibly very strong in comparison to where we think that it'll come up in the NASDAQ. Don't forget the NASDAQ is still way down below, whereas the S&P is got a head start on that C wave. 2-wave advantage head start, let's say. So we're going to have to, we'll follow it pretty closely, and we'll just keep our eyes on it. Do I have a downside calculation? It would be that they just turn from here and they just start to whip it down. And this turns into something much different. And again, if I bring it, let me go like this. See, we're still just barely getting to where I would have to put a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it's going to show us as a downside move. So this would be, it would revert it back. So what we would be looking for is it was going to reverse, come back, slide through there and break that level. So the 17,221 level, 220 level still remains in the picture, but it's going to have to turn. It can't go rally all the way up here and then turn. Goes to a new high, then it's the diagonal finishing. If it stops here and they fail and it comes all the way back down, then this is going to be 1, 2, and this is 3 of 3, 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. Okay, you following me on that? If it turns and it really starts to come down, this is going to be, the 5 would be here, as I've discussed previously. This would turn back into a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? And then it becomes a 1. And excuse me, becomes a 5. And then this would be 1, 2, 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. And that's where we get our confirmation, likely in that 3 of 3, if that's what's happening. So that's kind of the alternate. All right, I'm going to kind of finish there. I went over exactly what numbers are coming out tomorrow. Next update will be on Thursday, February the 22nd.